For the last 3 years, Melinda has been left with only heartache and questions after the sudden death of her daughter, Kyra. She was shot and her body was found in the woods. The cause of death was ruled a suicide. However, Melinda and her family believe that Kyra was murdered in cold blood by her estranged husband, Chris. Take a look.
I called the show because I've been accused of murdering my wife. 3 years ago, she committed suicide, and her family has accused me ever since then, which has totally destroyed my family and my life. When Kyra passed away, it was the most devastating moment of my life. I immediately lost everything. It was like a wave of pain, and there was no coming back. We've loved each other longer than I can even remember. She was my high school sweetheart. The last time I saw my wife, we had an argument, and she walked out, and I started making phone calls, trying to figure out what was going on. And it wasn't until the next morning that I found out that the police had found her. The coroner had said that she had killed herself, and I'd known that since she was 16, she'd been suicidal, and we've been combating those issues for more years than I can count. My wife's sisters and her mother, Melinda, they're accusing me of killing my wife, that I murdered her, that I beat her, that I was a savage person, that I was everything that we weren't, that our marriage was everything we weren't. They took who she was and made her a meek mouse when she was the strongest woman. She was the strongest woman I ever met. They took everything that I was, that we were, and changed it into something that it never was. They've gone to different social medias to go ahead and spread that. They have their own web page for it, contacting my friends, contacting whoever they could to try and spread their story. They started writing to the newspaper. Every time the newspaper would put something out to say that, Kyra committed suicide, they come up with some story about how the coroner lied and falsified the medical documents that had said suicide. None of these things have been true, and I can't stomach this lies anymore. I was never charged with anything. I feel crushed every day trying to deal with this and what it lost, what it took, and how much pain there's been on both sides of the family. And it just feels like it's unreconcilable. I don't want them calling me a murderer. I don't want to have hate in my heart for them anymore. I need us to be able to move forward. I called this show because you guys had the best lie detector test man around. And I knew that his evidence would be irrefutable to them.
I'd feel really responsible if, because being a former policeman, I own some handguns. I would feel terrible if somebody ever took my gun and hurt anybody or hurt themselves with it. And I do have a safe where nobody can get into that safe except for me. Do you feel at all responsible for the death of your wife?
No.
Not at all.
I mean, it's a relationship, so there's a lot of things that go in it. I don't know 100% why my wife...
Were you abusive to her?
No, God, no. Yeah. We had 3 physical fights in however many years that we were together. All 3 times police have been there.
You never hit her?
We had one physical fight where it came to the smacks were and first she smacked me, I reacted, pushed her off me, and then when the reaction happened, I took a giant step back. It was like, holy crap, what the hell? It was the first time we'd ever physically hit each other. And later on, all these other accusations came out, oh, he was beating me, I was drunk, and I'm like, dude, the cops told me to drive to the nearest hotel, and we lived in such a small town, that's 40 miles away. I'm not drunk. They didn't see there was no mark. The only thing she had, they had the paramedics check her out.
So you're saying you weren't abusive to your wife?
No.
Okay.
God, no.
Would you say you're prone to violence?
No.
No?
No, I mean, the only times I've ever been in a fight, I get in bar fights, that's a thing. But that's
prone to violence.
Yeah, but that's like if you go to a bar and someone's mouth in and then they hit you, of course you're gonna be in a fight.
If somebody hits me, yes, I'm gonna hit them
exactly.
back.
And
but most,
prone to violence
especially at my stage of life, I try to do everything I can to avoid confrontation so you don't get into a physical altercation. Even the thing that you post with the shirt, where, it brings out the murder in my eyes.
Right.
I mean, I read that, and I'm a fellow military person. I'm like, what kind of psycho puts that out there?
Well, that was also 2 months before. You see the date on it, it's April,
But the
not
point
June.
is, why would you
It's a dark sense of humor thing. It was just, If you go to like any like not the VFW, like say
I'm
awesome
well
stuff.
aware of
Yeah,
the things
web
that are
pages.
put on.
Right, and we all
about
kind of
that.
just joke around, and they don't mean anything.
Why are you fighting with them?
Should I let them threaten me and not say anything?
They lost their daughter.
I lost my wife.
Okay, so the point is, move on with your life.
What's moving on from losing your wife? How do you do that, man?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
But it's certainly not
It's not.
antagonizing the
Then why
family.
are they
Dealing
antagonizing?
with like that.
I'm not trying to antagonize them.
Okay.
Oh, wait.
The point is, you're on this ongoing battle with them too. I'm not saying one way or the other, but you're in this battles, threats, everything else because of a social media site. Come on, man. If they're not your next door neighbor, and if they're not knocking on your door, you can have a way where people can't contact you.
I agree.
Okay, that's the point I'm making.
But
But it doesn't seem like it's that important to you. You're not really trying to cut off contact with these people. But do you feel responsible at all?
as much as any husband would. Okay. Not that I drove her to it, but that this wasn't a new thing. This was something that we were battling against since
But
she
it's
was a
got,
teen.
I mean, just think about the depths of somebody, because from what I understand, and I don't want to get too graphic, but she did put the gun in her mouth.
I don't know.
You don't know?
No.
You don't know how she killed herself?
No one's gone. I haven't been able to get a hold of it. I called the police department.
Okay, see, right there, to me.
Yeah.
Like, come on, man. I mean, you never, hey, I want to know how she died. This is my wife.
They don't. I called. They say this is the guy that you have to talk to. You know, as a police officer,
okay.
you have a
First of all,
detective.
police records are of public information,
Now, the
right?
case hasn't
They're
been
not
closed.
sealed.
The last I heard was from my lawyer.
But you
who
didn't want to
said the case-
find out how
Of
your
course, I
wife
wanted to
died?
find out, but I knew it was
How long has
suicide.
it been? 3 years?
3 years.
Kyra was a very, very special girl. She was a free spirit for sure. Beautiful, beautiful girl. And she loved her family more than anything. I guess her only fault that I ever saw was she was vain with her appearance. She always took care of what she looked like. What I miss most about Kyra was her laugh. Her laugh would make you laugh. You don't want me to mince words about Christopher. He is the most creepy man I ever met, and he's very frightening when he glares at you. Very frightening. My very first impression for him was that he was not a good person. I did not like him at all the first time I saw him. I didn't even want to be in the same room with him. I absolutely believe that Christopher killed my granddaughter, Kyra, because he would do it. The feeling about him and the lies he told about it.
Before her death, did you know Kyra intended to harm herself? You answered no. Did you shoot Kyra? You answered no. Were you present when Kyra shot herself? You answered no. Did you participate in any way in Kyra being shot? You answered no. The results came back all the same, and they came back that Christopher told the truth. Do I believe he took that gun and killed her? No, I don't believe that. Do I believe that, can you abuse somebody, make them so mentally tortured? Can you beat somebody down enough where they then consider ending their own life? That I believe you can do. And if you did do that, then I believe that you are at least partially responsible for somebody ending your life. And if you don't take precautions with your handgun and somebody ends up dead because of you did not practice safety with a firearm, then yes, you are partially responsible. At the very least, if I was a policeman, I would have charged him with that, you know, not securing, right. But like I said, you lost your daughter, and that's a tragedy, and that's a pain that can never be healed. I know that. And unfortunately, you know that. Nothing is going to ever ease that pain.
Leave my children alone.
Stay away from each other.
Yes.
And you can take the first step in that, right?
Yes.
Good luck to you. Get off my stage. Thank you to all of our fans for helping us reach 1 million subscribers. Now let's get 1 million more. Make sure to subscribe now.